Hey guys, it's Eddie Deline here from Deline Property Group. I want to talk today about selling property. Selling property is something that I always talk to a lot of people about, or usually I get asked the question, why don't you sell some of your property? Do you think I should be selling this property to buy another one? And all that kind of stuff. So selling property, I've never been a big fan of it, to be honest. There's lots of reasons why. I'll start off with, an example. If you were to think back, ask your mum, your dad, your uncles, grandparents, or whatever it is, have they ever said? Have you ever heard anyone say that I'm so glad I sold that property 20 or 30 years ago? I've never heard it. I've never heard it at all, and I don't think I ever will hear it. The reason being that inflation over time, inflation over time doesn't lie. And if I were to think back from my parents' scenario, they bought a property out in Western Sydney for about 50,000. This is going back about 25, 30 years ago, way before I was born. They bought it for around 50,000. A few years later they sold it for 80,000, and then they were renting ever since and all that kind of stuff. So, for me, I always grew up with a family that always rented or were on housing commission or whatever. So we never owned, apart from that time, they sold it when I was 8 years old. Looking back on it now, if they had kept that property or found a way, or just rented it out, and then whatever happened, the same property today is worth about $600,000. So, they could have, even if they had a loan on it that was worth back then 50,000, they sold it for 80. Even if they had a loan on it for 40,000, they would have a $40,000 loan on it now. If they didn't pay a single cent on it, it would be worth $600,000 now. So, it's the same case today. So, a lot of people think it's very expensive, and the market itself is, very expensive. But I've heard the same things. If you look back at old, newspapers, and you talk to someone that is much older and bought a property 20 years ago, then they would said it was really hard, really expensive then, because you had interest rates which were a lot higher up then. So back when when my parents bought their house, interest rates were about 17%. Now they're about between 4%, 5%, 3.5%, whatever. So over time, you don't want to be. I don't want to be the person that's when I'm in 20, 30 years from now, when I'm bald and all my hair's gone and all that kind of stuff, look back and say, oh man, I had 10, 11 properties and I sold 5 of them to pay the other ones out, and now all of them, if I kept them, they'd be worth quadruple the amount. So the idea is to take as many properties as you can through as many cycles as you can, and if you can start young, if you can have 2, 3, 4, 5 properties and hold them for 20 years, if you pick them up for 200,000 or 250,000, 300,000, and then you just hold them, you sit on them, they've got a high rental return. They're not taking away from your lifestyle. They're paying your other bills and all that kind of stuff, so they're not eating into your income. If you lose your job, you can support it, but your properties will be supporting themselves. So, the idea is the game to take as many properties over as many cycles as they can. So usually, property, depending on where you're located in the, metro or whatever, they could double between 7 to 10 years. In 30 years' time, where will property be then? So if you've got that many properties, and that's one of the main reasons why I'm not interested in selling anytime soon. If you need the money out, if you need to cash in, or you need to buy another property, pull some equity out. You can always refinance your loan, as long as your property is covering itself in terms of the rental income coming in versus the expenses going out, meaning your mortgage, your council rates, your water rates, your strata. If you can buy properties that are covering themselves through interest rates going up or down, and rise your rents over time, because over time rents go up as well. Not only do property values go up, rents go up as well. So for the first property that I purchased, it was about $138,000, rented out for around $220 a week. Now the same thing would rent out for about $300 a week. And then for the other properties I purchased, they rented out for $230. Now they're all renting for $260, $280, $300, and all that kind of stuff. Over the years, the rents go up. So over time, that's where the money's made, over time. So it's how long can you be in the market for? Not buying a property, selling a property, buying one, doing a reno, flipping it, selling it, buying, doing a reno, flipping it, selling it again, making 20 grand here, 30 grand there, 50 grand there. If you did that over 20 years, you might have made lump sum cash of $500,000 or $1 million in doing renovations. But if you held 10 properties worth $300,000, and that was, you had $3 million worth of property, and then held them for 20 years, and you $3 million doubled, then doubled again, it went from $3 million to $6 million to $12 million, then you over the time the properties would be paid out as well, because they'd be paying themselves down, whether you paid put more money on them, or tried to pay them down aggressively. They'd pay themselves down over time as well, and the rents would go up. So you'd have $12 million worth of property, as opposed to just making $1 million in cash and lump sum by buying, flipping, and renovating and all that kind of stuff. So there's my thoughts, and I'll leave it with you. It's up to you what you want to do. If you have any questions, just email me through at admin@delenepg.com, and I'll be sure to get back to you, or message me through on Facebook. I'm more than happy to have a chat. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.